pen friends, this is Sarah. So it's the 1-year anniversary of the 8 pen questions tag started by Leanne and Simona. And I did this tag last year, and I'm going to do it again now and see how things have changed. Also, it's an exciting time for me because I've just passed 600 subscribers, so thanks to all my subscribers. The question is, when and how did your fountain pen journey begin? So I have always enjoyed stationery and pens, and I used to enjoy the Pilot G2 pens, especially the green one, and I just thought I might enjoy a pen that I could try any kind of green ink in, and how you don't have to waste that refill for the for pens like this that are plastic. Just throwing that part away bothered me, and I just thought I would enjoy trying out a fountain pen. And I had heard online that getting into fountain pens was dangerous because you could end up spending a lot of money on it. And I thought, how bad could that be? It's just pens. But it turns out they were right. So the second question is, what are your favorite inks? What were your favorite inks in the beginning? And what are your go-to inks now? So, of course, my favorite inks in the beginning and now are green inks. So my favorite one in the beginning was Sailor Epinard, which is a pretty dark green. And as I used pens, I became aware that I would keep the ink in there for a long time and it would start to dry out and become more condensed. And then the Sailor Epinard would start looking like a black ink instead of a green ink, which I didn't really like. So then recently, my favorite greens are more light greens, like Colorverse Green Goddess and Birmingham Pen Company Summer Sweet, which are pretty similar, and I also really like shading. So those are my favorites, but I do have 45 different green inks in my collection, and I pretty much like them all. Next question is, how have your ink and pen tastes changed over time? I think that I had a pretty good idea of what I wanted from the beginning because I watched a lot of pen videos, and I've always loved the look of Italian pens, especially celluloid ones, so I've really concentrated on those for my collection. And, you pretty much have to try a pen to know what it's like. You can be attracted to how it looks, but you can't know what it's going to feel like until you have it. And, unfortunately, there aren't any pen shops real near me, and I haven't been to a lot of pen shows. So I've purchased pens. I purchase a lot of them used, and fortunately, I haven't had a lot of disappointments with my pens. And so I actually, basically have 2 parts to my collection. Since the celluloid pens tend to be really expensive, I also like to have some that are just fun, less expensive pens that are bright colors. So at the end of the video, I'll show you some of my pens, and you can see what I mean about the 2 sections of my pen collection. But I don't know if my tastes have changed. I've figured out what I like the best, and I really try to concentrate my collection on those and not stray into other areas, even though I'm pretty sure I would like any fountain pen that I came across. The next question is, are there pens and inks that you have yet to try that you would like to? So, like I said, I pretty much concentrate on Italian pens, especially for more expensive pens, because I know that I really love them. But I would like to try some Asian pens that are higher end, because I've heard they're really good. I do have one gold nib Pilot pen, but I've heard a lot of good things about Pilot pens, and I'd like to try those. Also, Danny Trio. They have some beautiful pens, but they're so expensive and they're just not ones that really fit into my collection, but I would love to try some of those pens someday. I've never tried a Pelikan M1000, and I've heard that the nibs are nice and bouncy on those, and I love a bouncy nib, but I do have the Pelikan M800 and the M600, and I like them, but they're not like my favorite pens in my collection, so I don't want to invest more in Pelikan just because I feel like I prefer some other pens to those, but I still would like to try one. The next question is, do you have a Holy Grail pen? Last video, the last 8 pen questions video, I said that I would like to get an Armando Simoni Club Triangolo pen, and that was my Holy Grail pen, and I'm pleased to say that I did get one. So here it is, and it is my favorite pen in my collection. It's very comfortable to hold. It's one of my only celluloid, I think my only celluloid that has a cap that doesn't have the threads, which that's not really a good point necessarily, but it makes it quicker to get the cap off. It has this sort of triangular grip, which makes it really nice to hold. It's got the most beautiful celluloid, which is the Arco bronze celluloid, and it's cut in a way that this is like, they call it the shape of like fish scales. The shape of the pen really lends itself to the celluloid and making patterns in it. And it's a pneumatic filler with it's got a sack inside, which is not something that I really like because sacks tend to break on me, but so far this hasn't. But it does hold a lot of ink, which I like. And the nib is like a medium to broad width. It only really comes in one width, but I really enjoy that, and it's nice and juicy. The nib has a little bit of bounce, and it feels great. One of my best writers. My main complaint is, and it's got a little bit now, but ink down on this grip section. Sometimes, I don't know why, but it just gets ink all on the grip section. So I often have to wipe that off before I start writing. But I'm really, really happy with this pen. I think it's beautiful. It writes really well. And yeah, it's very expensive. Sometimes you can find them used. And I don't know, there's been a lot of like quality control problems with Armando Simoni Club pens, so I just warn you that they're not every pen of theirs is perfect, but I got lucky and I love mine. Yeah, so that's my Holy Grail pen. The next question is, how many pens do you currently own? So last video of this tag, I said I have 108, and I'm sticking to it, and I gave good reasons. I have to admit I've gone up to 111 pens, but I think it's still a good number, and it's a very neat looking number, like 3 pens in a row. I don't know, you just have to have your own reasons for how many you have. And I don't know if they asked also, okay, so the next question is, do you have a limit on pens and inks in your collection, and when do you know you've reached your max? So yes, my current limit is 111. I really don't plan on going above that. Yeah, same thing for inks. I have 111 bottles of ink. I really like keeping those numbers the same. I have a different ink in each of my pens. And yeah, 111 is my number. I feel comfortable with that. I use all of my pens a little bit, like every day maybe. I mean, I don't tend to use one pen all day. I like switching between them a lot. just like writing a tiny little bit with each one, just laying them all out. I like looking at them all at once. And so yeah, I've reached my max. I have places to keep all of them. I can remember all of the ones that I have. They are almost all in pen boxes. Some of them are with journals. But I feel comfortable with that number. I know it's a ton. Like, it's not like the number of pens that I need. It's just the number of pens that I decided to collect. What would you do if another pen or ink came along? Well, what I do is if I see a pen or ink that I really want, basically with inks, I'm just waiting to use up a bottle before I get another one. With pens, if I see one I really, really want, I have to decide to let go of one of the pens in my collection. So, to be honest, I haven't only acquired 3 pens since last year. I've acquired a few more, but I've let some go from my collection to keep it down to 111 pens. All right, so I guess those are all my answers to these questions. I encourage everyone watching to go ahead and make a video answering these questions. They do have a schedule that you can sign up for to be for your video to come out on a certain day, or you can just bring your video out whenever you want, like I have. So now I'm just going to do a little flyby of some of my pens and inks, and I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for being here. Bye.
Inks, 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 inks.
Pens, 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 pens. Bye, pen friends.